Hey, everybody, 8 o'clock. It's time for Dakota Grappler Live. I'm John Gums. I'm owner and editor of Dakota Grappler. Got two great guests on tonight. We got Chaz and we got Scott. Both these guys, longtime coaches who I am so impressed with. They've been around the sport a long time, so I'm hoping you guys enjoy the talk we have tonight about wrestling and their teams and what they think is happening in the state of North Dakota, or state of North Dakota, South Dakota. North Dakota for me mostly, but they get to see some North Dakota wrestlers down there too. I know they got, got to see some down in Lee Wolf last week and some other times. So, they come up to the Rotary. There was one big match at 195 I'll talk about a little bit that Century found a way to get back. And boy, those two could battle for a long time. They're still both young and going to see a lot of good wrestling out of those two in the future. So we'll talk that way. Going to talk about your kids and how well they're doing. Going to talk about, you guys the last few weeks. And guys, just if you feel free, I'm going to put a little post out there right now. Feel free, guys, to ask any questions. If they're appropriate, then we'll try to get them on. And, if you guys have comments, always love to see you guys out there. Okay, first I'll start with Chaz, our new guy. I know I've had Scott on here a half a dozen times or so. He knows the ins and outs of Dakota Grappler Live. Hopefully Bill, our other host, will hop in a bit. But Chaz, tell me a little bit about yourself. First time on here, where you're from, and how you got started coaching wrestling.
Yeah, so actually, funny story. I was born in Hettinger, North Dakota. My parents were teachers in Reeder, North Dakota, but they escaped across the border pretty quick. So we ended up in Rapid City. Rapid City is where I grew up, kind of born and raised in that area. So, wrestled through Westside Raiders and then Rapid City Stevens, and then went to Northern and wrestled there, got my degree. And then my first coaching job after Northern was Wagner, South Dakota. I was down there for 3 years. And then this is my 10th year in Watertown. So, yeah, actually, I got to go back. When I was finishing up my degree at Northern, I actually coached in Groton for like a year and a half.
Okay.
Before I got my degree. So, yeah, I've been at it a little while.
Yeah, time flies. Sure. Yeah, I remember watching you wrestle and stuff down out of Rapid, and trying to think. I was one big match that I was thinking about. I had brought some wrestlers down, and you had some pretty good success down there through Rapid. So
sure.
Now, how about this? Why don't you tell us, how you got involved in wrestling? Yourself or your parents, your family. What brought you into wrestling?
Yeah, so my dad wrestled in Watertown. Actually, wrestled for legendary Marshall, of course. Yep. And went and wrestled at Huron College for 2 years, and then Northern for a couple years after that. So when I was born, he was actually they were in North Dakota for just a little bit, and then they went to Rapid City, and he taught and coached at Douglas. So When I was a kid, I was in the Douglas wrestling room all the time. So I was around wrestling all the time. So then, I suppose when I got to be, I guess it would have been about 8 years old or so, he kind of quit coaching high school and started coaching the youth. And we had a couple other dads, Tucker Mickles' dad, Steve Mickles, Raleigh Larson. He did that as well. John LaFleur, some of those guys kind of started coaching in the club, Westside Raiders. And we ended up, getting a pretty good crew there and had some pretty good success once we hit high school. So, yeah, it was good. So I was around wrestling from the very beginning. That's for sure.
Were there any older wrestlers you looked up to? Did you ever have a chance to meet Randy Lewis or any of those out of Rapid City?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So a little bit of a funny story. So my mom is from Rapid City. My dad was from Watertown, but my mom and Robin Lewis, Randy's sister, were like best friends in high school. So, so I spent a little bit of time around the Lewises when we got a little older, and then, of course, the Kerbers. Yep. And, when she got married there, and then Justin was around in the summertime. Sometimes we would roll around. And so, yeah, wrestling's a pretty small community. It really is. You can draw lines all over the place.
I agree. When we used to go down, now I'm talking about the late 80s for me, we'd go down to the Rapid City tournament, and Randy Lewis's parents brought us over to the house to see the gold medal. And was always impressed with how warm Rapid City was toward wrestling. They call it West River was so dominant in those eras. How about teams? Who was your main competition as you grew up team wise when you were in Rapid?
In high school? Yeah, it was, it's pretty much Sturgis and Watertown. That's for sure. It was a lot of times it was us three. Yankton had a pretty good team, but for the most part, I mean, when I was in high school, 8th grade through senior year, I don't know if we finished worse than 4th. We won a title my sophomore year and got 2nd once or twice. And yeah, I mean, we were right there, but Watertown was awful good. And so was Sturgis, that's for sure. So those were kind of our main ones. It was nice to have Sturgis and annoying at the same time, of course, to have Sturgis right there, because we saw them all the time and they were always, I mean, Kessler he was in his heyday for sure back in those days. So
yeah. He now gets to look over the shoulder as an assistant.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Good things they got going there, unfortunately, for Watertown.
Yeah, if I was the head coach, I'd just give him all the paperwork then. You could,
yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
Oh no. Tell us about your coaching staff. Who's helping you out in Watertown right now?
Yeah, so right now I have Aaron Altoff, who was legendary wrestler for Watertown. We have Scott Stone, who was a place winner for Watertown as well. Nate Altoff, who again, three-time state champ. He comes in and helps out quite a bit. We have Dexter Gaikowski, who was a place winner for us, that's kind of coaching our girls. So Nate has college wrestling experience. Aaron has college wrestling experience. Scott Stone placed 3rd when he was in high school. I mean, we have a very, very good coaching staff for sure. Yeah. It's awful nice to have those guys to lean on for sure.
And you got Grandma Altoff, who takes all the pictures.
Yeah, that's correct. Absolutely.
she was down on the mat last weekend, and I bumped into her just kind of purposely see if she'd recognize, because I had stopped in, and she goes, she wanted her space to make sure she got good pictures. It was pretty good.
Yeah, she's an intense woman. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a boy's intense on the mat like that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not because of the dad; it's usually because of the mom.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So now, why don't you start telling us a little bit about your team and how it's built up from the bottom up? Because you guys,
this year. What's that?
I was saying just how great your team is. Really, it's got big goals. You guys should be right in the mix.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. That's the plan. And really, I mean, I'm kind of the guy that sits in the corner and drinks Mountain Dew and tells people to go down in the second period. I mean, really the success of this program started a long, long time ago. And it had to do with the youth coaching that we had for sure. Aaron I don't know if you remember Ty, that's a few years ago now.
Do very well. Yes.
Northern. And when his boys got into there, he started and he took over the AAU program and definitely has done an amazing job. And so all these guys had an incredible foundation when I came to Watertown 10 years ago. So then it's just, little tiny tweaks here and there. So anytime I chance, and this is a perfect opportunity, I try to give Aaron all the credit.
Well,
that's for sure. So
well, that's good. Tell us about your lower weights.
Yep. So at 106, we got Gage Lower, who's an 8th grader, but a pretty tough 8th grader for sure. He had a heartbreaker loss last weekend, but he's had quite a bit of success this year and just a super hard worker. That's for sure.
That was the great match. It was ended up being 19-13.
13.
Yep, 19-13, but in the finals. But it was a 1-point match till that last 10 seconds, and he got thrown.
Yep. It was
Redfield Senior.
Yeah. So he's kind of a little hammer for us. At 113, we have Leo Strop, who has made some really big strides this year for sure. And we're looking for him to do good things. At 120, we have Sloan Johansson, who's had some battles with Ben DeForest, who you talked about.
Yep.
So he's, won a couple state titles and is doing pretty well. 126, we have Weston Everson, who's a couple-time place winner, and, we're hoping he can do some big things this year, senior. At 132, we have Braden Lay, another senior who had just the state tournament of a lifetime last year, and then, placed 4th last year. So again, very, very high goals for him and all these guys. I mean, it kind of goes without saying, very, very hard workers, for sure. And at 138, we have Derek Hansen, who is a junior and is, again, made really good strides this year. And we're looking for him to find his way onto the podium at the end of the year. At 145, I don't know what we got to do to not get a concussion at 145 pounds, but we're struggling right now. But we're hoping to get our normal 145 pounder back this week. Marcus Pitkin, who is a freshman and just probably the most athletic kid in our room. I mean, he plays football, and he's incredible at football. He's incredible at baseball. He's a great wrestler. It's just a really, really good athlete. We haven't had him since Bismarck. So we'll look forward to getting him back. For sure. At 152, we have Ian Johnson, who's a senior. Again, just caught fire at the state tournament last year and ended up getting third. Big goals for him as well this year. 160, we have Tucker Erdahl, who kind of slid into our lineup. And he's, definitely learning at 160 pounds what it takes to be successful, but he's a hard worker and he's going to figure it out. No doubt about that. At 170, we have Jack Sketwig, who's a senior and, a place winner from last year. Again, had a really good state tournament last year.
Crazy leg rider.
What's that?
Crazy leg rider.
Yes, he is for sure. Him and your Jacks have had some battles. That's for sure. Yep. Yeah, no doubt. And then 182, we have a senior, Jackson Mogg, who's, kind of one of those guys that's paid his dues underneath some pretty good kids for a long time, and then kind of broke into the lineup this year and is having a pretty good year. And I know we're looking to put him on the podium too. 195, you kind of mentioned him earlier, but Brock Eatram, he's a two-time place winner for us, just an eyelash away from making the finals last year. He's had a really good season, and we're looking for him to place really high this year. That's the plan. And then at 220, we have Matt Peters, who weighs all of about 188 pounds or something like that. But the guy is he's dangerous. He can do anything from anywhere, and he's kind of fun to watch for sure. But he's undersized, but I'll tell you what, he's strong as an ox. You don't want to mess with him. So hoping we can do some good things with him. And then at heavyweight, we have Micah Hawk, who again had a really good state tournament last year, ended up getting third. Has had a pretty good season this season so far, but I know he's nowhere near happy with where he's at right now. He wants to punch his ticket and see if we can get a shot at Chunky. We got some really good guys that he's got to beat to get there. That's for sure, and he's ultra aware of that. He found that out this weekend, last weekend.
Well, the big Chamberlain boy looked pretty good too this weekend. I thought he was more aggressive than I remember. So that was. Yeah,
absolutely. And they've had some battles, actually. I think he's beat us before. I think he beat us last year. So he's a good kid.
Yeah, definitely. Sure. So what does it look like PowerPoints for your team for the duels?
Ooh, I probably should have looked at that ahead of time. I'm not 100% sure, I guess. If I had to guess, we'd be somewhere in the 4 to 6 range right now. I could
not sitting too bad. Yeah, we got time. We'll talk about it later too.
Yeah. Somewhere in there. Our we took a loss to T earlier in the year, very first weekend, and I know T has an incredibly good team, and I think their whole lineup basically shifted here just last weekend or a week or two ago. So that one definitely stung a little bit in the beginning, but then we hit the heart of our ESD duels, and those ESD teams are very good. We had a couple pretty good wins last week with Aberdeen and Harrisburg, so that definitely helped us out PowerPoints wise, I would imagine. And then we still need to see. We'll have Huron tomorrow night, and then we need Brandon Valley and Mitchell still to see. So we'll see what we can do against those teams. But I would look for us, I would imagine, to be somewhere in that 4 to 6 range right now.
Okay,
would be my guess.
Well, awesome. Well, Scott, I'm going to bring you back into the conversation. Okay. Quick question now. Tell us, you've had great success. You've been sitting in the rankings, anywhere from, 3 range. Yeah, let's just keep it that way. How you feeling about your team? I've got to talk to you so far. Let's roll a little bit on how they've developed from day one till today. I know that you got a very competitive team.
We started out a little not strong as we thought because of the OPC. It took a little bit to get a few kids down, kind of piled up. Just coming on, just listen to Chaz talk about the end, the duels and stuff, and early season losses. That's when we had Point Jefferson. That kind of it happened and it's there, and we can't do nothing about it. But we're a way better team than we were then. Wrestling wise, the kids are really are starting to turn it on is part of it, and then we got people to the weight classes they need to be at. So we battled the injury bug a lot this year. We're waiting to get our 220 back. We didn't even know if we get him back, but we got word he will be back, so that's kind of good news.
Be nice.
And so we should be pretty strong, I think, at the end of the season here. But the beginning of the season, it was a little rough. Just trying to figure out where kids were at. I had a real good kid, junior high kid, that he asked me and I let him do it. He went and tried basketball, but he luckily at Christmas time he asked to come back to the team. He came back and he's done pretty good for us. He filled in at 106 when he first come back when Flogstead was still out with an injury. And then when Flogstead came back, he's went to 13. And he's good at 113 for us. So.
Yeah, definitely. I saw you had a tough dual loss this last week.
No, we have, let's see. We have 2 weeks ago. Yep, Custer.
Oh, Custer. Yep.
Custer got us 2 weeks ago. They're good. They're
They
good lineup, man.
All the way through when I've seen
dual
results.
Yep. We were, boy, that night were we see the 12th yet? Yeah, we were missing Flogstead and we were missing my 220. That was the first week he was out injured. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. You put those two in. I don't know the point wise. It was, I don't know if we get them. They're good. Yeah. I won't lie. I think they're the best team. Dual wise, I think right now they're the best team.
Okay.
We'll find out. We do. Of course, we have our yearly. This been ever since we got rid of districts. Instead of filling with a tournament, I started a round robin duel with like 5 teams on Friday, and now we start at 1:00. We got 8 teams come in, and we don't duel everybody. We get 4 duels. That's the us and Canton will square off next Friday night or late Friday afternoon.
Okay. So you squeeze
we'll find out. Minutes. Yeah, we do it every year. We kind of find out, see where we're at, and gives us a good idea. So it's kind of it's good. It's good competition at the end of the year, and there's been some years when we knew what the duel was going to turn out, and we both kind of juggled, some of our studs against each other just because we knew it was a one-time deal. It's always been fun to do that, and we next week we'll see. I don't know if it can happen. The duel I think might be a little closer than normal, so I don't know if either of us want to pull that kind of string or not. So.
Mm-hmm. I always think that's a good character for the coach and the kids, matching guys and not running. I think that's because guess what? You're going to have to face them sometime. Let's face them now and see what we can do. And I guess you got something to build on or something,
Or something actually. Sometimes we jump up a weight class or they jump up and, just want to see who has. I always tell my kids, find out if you're the best kid or not. Then,
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's just like, for an example, Shunky, when Hutmacher went up and faced him at heavyweight. You think of that match, everybody wants to see it. And not only just as a fan, but guess what? I think Hutmacher wanted to prove to himself, maybe I could take on that extra weight. And then he goes out and pins the guy in 10 seconds in the semis because he knows he can take that, that next step, in Lee Wolf last weekend. And so, no, it's the best thing about wrestling. If you can find a way to mentally battle the toughest people, everything on the mat is simple. It's just fixing it here first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so true. No, how about both of you? As the season goes, tell me what you have left, Chaz, and then we'll go through. I know, Scott, you mentioned a little bit about yours, but I never did ask. How do you finish out the season before you go to regions and state?
Yeah, you bet. So we have Huron tomorrow night at home in Watertown, and then we'll go to Yankton for the Yankton invite down there, which is going to be a tough tournament, which is good. We'll get to see a few teams we haven't seen yet, or definitely a few matches that we need to get back, hopefully, before region seeding and state seeding comes around. So it's going to be a tough tournament. I'm looking forward to it. The kids are looking forward to it too. So we'll go there on Saturday, and then we will host Mitchell and Brandon Valley on next Thursday. And then we'll have the weekend off, and then we'll go right into regions that next weekend. So there's really not much left. That's for sure.
Where's the regions at this year?
Madison.
It's in Madison. Okay.
Yep.
How about you, Scott? How do you finish off the rest of your season? You've got
tomorrow night we got to make up a quad from December. This nice weather we've had. So we did find a night. All of us are getting together tomorrow night. We'll go to Clark. We'll wrestle Clark, Willow Lake, Flandu, and Sioux Valley. And then we got our big conference tournament on Saturday. And it's kind of nice this time of year because, like Chaz mentions about seeds and stuff, there's a lot of teams in our conference that land right in Region 2B where we're at. So it's that chance for everybody to jockey for, position for the region tournament, a couple weeks later. So, and then next week, though, we'll just wait till Friday and we'll have that 8-team round robin duels here in Salem. And then we have Saturday off, not really off because the girls will go to Harrisburg. And then I run, as soon as that duels are done, I head to Pierre and go coach and help out at the state middle school tournament.
Oh,
That wraps it up, and then we're blessed. We got her probably. Things are going to get rotated around a little more now, but we get a host Region 2B. We'll host.
Do you think it's been beneficial going to regions, just regions over districts?
Yeah. Some days I always said I miss the old districts, but it's a one shot deal. You kind of, we had districts and regions. Then suddenly the only other thing I remember all these years coaching when we had those nerve wracking was if a kid got injured or sick in between. It was that one big day and he's sick. The only thing is at the end it was time to get rid of it because we had kids, we just limped them through the district tournament just to get them in. There's times that we had seriously injuries and we just get that one match and injury default, get fourth. And the next week we go set ourselves up and get in the championship, maybe get second or end up winning it just to get ready for the state tournament. So it's kind of nice. But now you just focus on the one. And that's why I think I've changed my ways. I don't know about Chaz, but I kind of, since we got rid of districts, I rest a lot of kids if they need it coming going before they're on the mat getting ready region week. But when we get into February here, if I got somebody really bad banged up coming into this first week of February, we just set them out of conference. We're kind of talking about it tonight as coaches. We're kind of scared because this year, right now, knock on wood, we only have the one kid that's coming back. This might be the first time in 4 or 5 years that we actually go to our conference tournament with the majority of our starters there, pending sickness. Because the last couple of days, I had a couple kids out sick, so hopefully we get those back.
Yeah, I did notice something on the records. South Dakota does get anywhere between 10 and 20 matches more than the North Dakota wrestlers had, even in, go to Lee Wolf. And I was trying to figure out, because I think you guys do a lot more when you do duel somebody, you have tries or quads. And I know the Class A in North Dakota, they do a lot of individual duels still. So like when we face just St. Mary's, just Bismarck High, just whatever. And then it kind of interesting that you guys, I just looked at the totals. What kind of matches would you keep the number close to that 45, 50 going in 40, going into regions?
I think there's quite a bit of talk about maybe trying to reduce that match number, maybe just a little bit, at least in the ESD. I think I've kind of heard some rumblings of that. We do a few single duels, but a lot of them are triangulars with ESD. And I guess we do a Millbank out of conference, but mostly, there's 9 teams in the ESD. And if we were to go to single duels, that'd be 8 weigh-ins. Yeah. So that would be, that'd be over half our weigh-ins right there if we were to do that. But yeah, sometimes, and you can really see it. And I think maybe a little bit in our team last weekend, it's tough. Our schedule is good. We go find some good tournaments. And there's maybe a little bit of fatigue there. I wouldn't be very upset if we were more like 40 matches instead of 50 matches. But I think there's talks out there about that. Especially the trends you see in college wrestling right now where guys are going into conferences with 10 matches
right.
or whatever it is. It's kind of crazy. So the longer I do this, and you guys mentioned this before, Coach Andal did, rest is important. It really is. You can't just grind. Otherwise, very few guys are going to be at their best in the end. That's for sure. So
that's why I said that I was watching practices before we got on here and seeing the pace is usually you start having shorter practices, a little bit more intense. And so how do you guys handle that? Are you still in belief of that? Shorten the practices up, a little more intense. You kind of know the drill procedure.
Yeah. Usually, I do for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. We try to get in and get out. Any curriculum, a technique you're going to show, hopefully you've shown a long time ago. And now it's just kind of individual tweaks for each kid is a lot of what we do for sure.
Yeah. We try to, I went a little bit this week, Monday, Tuesday, we went a little longer than normal this time of year, but my kids, we talked about it. They agreed, with all the snow, the days we've missed, we finally, and then they are trying to juggle, making matches up, quads and stuff. And we just finally had 2 days in a row for the first time in January that we could go full bore if we wanted to. So we did. And then like tonight, we were a little intense tonight, but it was bam, 1 hour, 10 minutes, we were done. I told we're going to get after it. We got a quad tomorrow night. We're getting in and out.
Yeah, that's nice. I know that the OPC was a tough thing for South Dakota. starting off the year, just adjusting to it? How are you doing now with it? Do you kind of understand it better?
Yeah, it was good. And, I guess I dealt with that when I was in college. Of course, I was at 125, so it didn't really matter for me. I didn't have to worry too much, but I understood the process. And I think it was, the timing, I think, was maybe a little rough, was the biggest part that led to it. But in the end, I mean, it's a good thing. The idea is a good thing. It's just maybe the delivery was not exactly 100% what it should have been, but it's, they'll make tweaks and it'll be just fine. So yeah, it didn't take my kids long anyway. We don't cut a ton of weight. It didn't take them long to get down there, a week or two. Maybe, I guess I had one kid that had to wait till Christmas, but other than that, they all knew where they wanted to go and they were relatively close, and it wasn't as big a deal for my team.
Okay. And Scott?
Yeah, we'll get used to it. Got to get, we had one kid we wanted to, we're open there all year, but OPC at 45, and we tried it a couple times, couldn't get there. And that's the way it is. He's injured now, but he filled in really good for us. Having to be behind the Reppers, that Andal kid. And, but other than that, no, it's all right. We just found out this week, and it would have been nice all season if we could have, when you want to adjust, some of my kids said to make 113 or 106, and we knew, hey, we're only going to 120 or 126, and we were there by Christmas. It would have been nice. Then I could have, now we got the rule day, they're locked in. Well, then I could have moved them up a few more times this season. And,
right.
And, hindsight, it's done and over with. You can't change it. But with that in place next year right away, that makes another difference on duels. We had a few duels that we look back, we were talking about it tonight. Man, we could have wrestled that kid up. But I'm just glad they finally got it, because I have a kid kind of in that situation. He's been down. We went back up. We tried to decide what weight class. So he's good. He'll finish out. And then if it doesn't look good after round robin duels or after a conference tournament, he can at least drop down in regions and not worry about the rest of these weight class, making that OPC wrestling time. He can just jump up like he is now, wrestle full feed. And then it's like the two weight classes aren't far apart. So it's like a 6 pound drop.
Right.
So.
Right. I kind of like that part. It's just South Dakota got rid of their rule that half of your weight class or half of your matches at the lowest weight doesn't have to be that way now because of the OPC. Okay.
Is that the way North Dakota is?
Well, it used to be, and they got rid of that too. Okay. That they used to have it where you could basically have half of your matches at the lowest weight, but still it's interesting because we have people move just a little bit come regions too. And it all depends. And usually it's going up than it is down. Now in North Dakota, they'll be at their lowest weight, and then they start looking at region wise and they'll move people. Sure. The biggest advantage North Dakota has Class A wise is every team can bring 3 extra guys. And that's always confused South Dakota, but you can at the region, if you feel you've got 3 guys that keeps everybody in the room, if you have an extra 6-pounder, that's pretty darn good. I tell you what, it gets scary for these other teams, but everybody has that opportunity. It also allows some kids that can't cut weight to get a chance still at regions, and they're helping the guys out. They're not, I'm not going to get to wrestle in regions. So they're trying to leave the room, or they're not giving 100%. A lot of coaches use it as, guess what? You make it through the season, you have an opportunity to be at regions. And a lot of times that senior that's just on the outside can't quite make the varsity still has a shot to go to regions maybe and place at regions and get to state as an alternate. And so that's really changed dieting. It's really changed people's, how could you say, the kids that outlook just toward the team type thing, because it also keeps them there for duels. We've had teams in North Dakota that have those 3 alternates, and they bring 3 different ones for their duel, because you can weigh in 17 for your dual team. And so that's interesting. One more thing North Dakota changed is they allowed kids, let's say you have an exhibition match before a duel as a JV match, they can still wrestle varsity match, which really surprised me this year, but I've seen it happen where a guy just needs to get matches. So they've got a decent JV match real quick, but then also it's their regular guy. Kind of, he's been out for injury. They get him an exhibition match, and then a half hour, 45 minutes later, he's wrestling a varsity match. Oh yeah.
No kidding, huh?
So that was a change in North Dakota that really surprised me that they allowed that. But it makes duels interesting, is all of a sudden they have 2 guys wrestling JV, and you don't know if they're going to be the guys that will also then wrestle in a duel. Which guy are you going to bring in there? Because They just, before you knew that, guess what? They're holding him out. He's probably going to wrestle in the duel. He's not getting him a JV match. No, not anymore. So
interesting.
It makes it interesting, but also I do some broadcasting. So in the broadcasting sense, as I'm talking, I usually have a second guy with me. You don't have your sheet filled out because they're not sure. They move more people now because that JV guy might come in and checking in at the head table makes a huge difference because now you have your whole weigh-in sheet. You don't have to have just 17 for a duel in North Dakota for the regular season. So they could have 30, 40 guys weigh in because you have some for JV, and they could pull any one of those guys into the varsity match. if you got a really good team, sometimes, teams are loaded enough where they could pull 3-4 guys and you're just going, who the heck are they bringing out here against maybe an average guy? So it's interesting.
Oh yeah.
Bismarck High will probably pull it tomorrow night against Century. They're the masters. I can tell you what, Scott Nolan and over the years and Jeff Schumacher, by far the best at moving wrestlers. In fact, I don't know how they have done it, but last year they weighed in 3 guys at a lower weight class and wrestled them in the individual tournament at a higher weight class. So they weighed in the whole state tournament like their 82 pounder wrestled 95 in the individual. So that in the duel, they were ready to wrestle 82 and all the other things. It was, they had 3 upper guys that they had a 60 pounder weigh in at 60 and he actually wrestled 70, the 70 pounder and it just 3-4 guys. They do that every year. And I'm going, I don't know how.
Because you guys mix the duels in with the individual, right?
We did not for the first time last year.
Oh,
so
okay.
we do our individual just Thursday, Friday, and we do the duel on Saturday now. Last year for the first time, but they changed a lot of things in North Dakota when it comes to that. The individual in Class A is not seeded, and that has really made me upset.
They do the 1, 4, 2, 3 thing.
They kind of, but it's since there's only 2 regions, it's 1, 8, and then 2, 2, 7. But sometimes, for an example, it really helps some of those. Like the West at some weight classes might have 7 of the best wrestlers. And so it's giving seeds basically to guys on the other side that don't deserve to be in that spot. So they fall in. Because here's the way, if you look at a state tournament bracket, if somebody's sitting to wrestle a guy that could be a 7 seeded kid and you fall back on that quarter match or you lost and you got to come to the other side, you'd rather face a 7 or versus a 5 or a 6 that lost in the quarters to place. And now it messes that whole thing up where that happens. And then if you have an injury, for an example, last year, we had the number 1 seed at 160. Blair Berg out of Dickinson was the returning state champion, and he had a knee injury. So he defaulted in the region down to 6th place. Well, that put him against the 3 on the other side, but he then second round would be, no matter the way it worked, he went against the 1 out of our region because of where it fell. So basically you have the 1 in our region who ended up beating him. That's Muse. Muse beat the state champion in the quarters, not in the semis, not in the finals. They had to face each other in the quarters to see who went on. So it's crazy because if it had been seed wise after getting hurt in the regions, then he probably still would have been probably the 1 or 2 seed, and they'd have been opposite sides. They'd have faced probably in the finals.
What was the reason for that? Because you used to seed it, right?
Yes. Oh yeah. Last year they had a meeting between the coaches, and I wish I knew the exact thing, but yet all the individual A coaches got to vote, and it was pretty much all East Side, which has just as many schools, and then a school out of the West. One they convinced to it, so it was a 1 vote difference, and it was for at least 2 or 3 years of doing it. So this year, again, your placing in regions will basically be kind of your seed, 1 versus 8 and so forth. And
we fought forever to
we
had, and you guys go to it.
Yeah, and we kind of go to something like that, and I just go, I remember when they sent the sheets out, or you found out you got the packet at the regions afterwards, after it's all over, and you're going, okay, our 1 goes against the 4 from the other region. I'm going, you got to be kidding me. So it was a nightmare. If you're like the 3 and then you're facing the 2 out of another one that's one of the best wrestlers.
Yeah, before this nice Dakota Grappler, everything, track wrestling and all that. So I'm that old. You used to get the packet.
Yep. Then
you get on the bus and you call that coach and would tell you how that other region went. So you could get It'd take me on the bus trip home from regions before I'd figure out. And some region was just still be going. So I'd be sitting there till 10 at night trying to figure out who you're wrestling.
Oh yeah. Ours in North Dakota used to be that they would have their coaches meeting, and then they would have representatives from the region go to the state meeting, and they would drive to Valley City on that Sunday and have the meeting between probably 4 coaches, 2 from each side, and then an assistant to take notes. And sometimes some coaches, you expect them to represent your region, but if they didn't like somebody, they didn't fight, for them. So it was always kind of interesting. And then when track came about, at least they could get the seating pretty decent, and then they adjusted it just a little bit. The coaches would come in and have a final meeting, say, okay, track seated it, and then let's take a look at this. Is there anything you object, and why? And then they would do a couple fights or changes, and that would be it. So I don't know. I think it took us backwards with the seating, and I would argue with anybody that, why did we go back to that? I don't know, and they'll have to vote on it again in the near future. We'll see.
Yeah, that's a weird move. I mean, it's just so simple the way track does it. It's very cut and dry.
But it allows these teams that don't face anybody to basically avoid too. I think that, wrestling the people and getting chances. Some guys don't come out to the Rotary, or don't go to the Rumble, don't go to some of these tough tournaments, and we'll have to see how that works. But I don't know. I think you try to get your wrestlers some of the best competition always. So I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, that usually shows up in the end. If you're not in the fire all year, it usually shows up in the end.
Right. So true. No, and I know coaches, I wish they don't always have control of some of that stuff. Their athletic directors and other things do play a role in scheduling and getting places. I know that Bismarck, during the COVID little area, they didn't let the Bismarck teams leave out of the Bismarck area. They just expected us just to wrestle within Bismarck in that 2020. It was like, what, you got to be kidding me. Everybody else is traveling and going somewhere, but all they wanted us is just to wrestle within Bismarck. Yeah. And so that put, but I know the Bismarck school districts, Bismarck used to go out to Montana and down to South Dakota a couple of times. They only allow them to do 1 overnight out of state now. And in Bismarck school districts, and with money and all the other things. So that limits them to go, they used to go to the Minnesota Christmas tournament, and they go down to the Rapid City tournament. So now they have to pick and choose one tournament kind of as it has to be within a day's drive or something. I don't know the exact rules, because Century goes down to Wyoming and then still gets to go but it's a 1-day tournament in Aberdeen. It's not a 2-day. But
sure.
But it's interesting on, what you can do to get your wrestlers some matches. So how do you guys set up your schedules? Do you individual coaches do that? Do you sit with the other coaches down, or do you have your athletic directors help?
Yeah, I'd say, a lot of it is just kind of conversations with the athletic director for sure. I know we tried for years and years and years to get into Rapid City, and we finally did the last couple of years. Yeah, it's a lot of, of course we're kind of obligated to do our ESD duels. Mm-hmm. So we do those, and then other than that, it's really kind of up to you and what you want to do and what your athletic
number of weigh-ins you can do. And
Yep. Yeah, we get our 15 weigh-ins, and then you just kind of try to map it out. Or if you're looking for something different, you can always look to hop into something else. But yeah, it's really, for me anyway, it's individual conversations with just the athletic director, and of course our coaching staff. Bring them in, and what do you guys think? Should we change it up? That kind of stuff. So, sure. But yeah, it's really just kind of an individual conversation with the AD.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Scott? Anything different?
Yeah, I would always have to go through my ADs, but they're good. I kind of go out and search what I want to try to get into. Some things are tied. Like the last couple of years, we actually were asked to come to Rapid City, but it's hard because we've been in the Howard tournament. It's 30 miles away, so it's hard for our administration to say, yeah, go ahead, stay overnight, go to Rapid City when we got a good tournament 30 miles away. But other than that, I pretty much, we got Lyman a few years ago. We used to go out to Philip. Philip had a tournament. Then we had them duels out there. They were good, but we just kind of, with the way the duels were going, we knew we needed to change something up. And I got lucky that Custer wanted to travel all the way across the state. And they came, and we made that quad with Custer, Kingsbury County, and Tri-Valley. So we all talked that night. We're just going to keep it going. And we're lucky Salem's right on the interstate. So we all agreed, let's just keep it there so Custer doesn't have to go farther north. And we all know that our schools probably not let us go out there every 4 years, Custer's. But but otherwise, yeah, we just kind of do that. And we talk about changing out of some tournaments. About time you think about it, then you got to look at your future. What's my team going to be like? I dropped this out of this one tournament to go to a tough one, and I might need this healer tournament later in the season, like we got now. So,
right.
So we just kind of that's what I do.
Okay. How about how's the progression of your girls coming along for both you guys, for your Watertown and for McCook Central stuff?
For us, well, 2 years ago when this got kicked off, we had Alexis Bryant she had moved here, wanted to try it, never. Actually, I seen her. I ref high school football, but I also do the local here, the junior high JV games. I was doing junior high games. I thought West Remmers, because an 8th grader comes out and I see this kid with long hair sticking out of the helmet running this kid's over, and I'm like, who is that? I was like, he's pretty tough, even though he's got long hair. I was trying to get him out for wrestling. It turned out to be Alexis. Oh, she said, yeah, I'll try wrestling. And she did really good for a 7th grader. He never been on a mat. And then last year she left in just a family situation. She was living over in Hartford, so she wrestled for West Central, had a great year, got 3rd at 132. And we just another fan saying they just moved. And actually she ended up in Montrose School District. And now she's back on her team and doing real good for us at 120. And then we had a girl move in from Oklahoma last spring, 7th grader. Now she's an 8th grader. She's coming along. She's taking her lumps, but she's coming along. So that's all. We got 2 in the room. We, like I said, Alexis 2 years ago. Last year we had 0. Now we got 2. Now we got that interest again. Some girls talking coming out next year, so we'll see. Okay. But it's we kind of enjoy it. We took it. We'd like to have a lot more, but we enjoy what we got. And us coaches, we've been taking turns taking these girls we got to get them to other tournaments. When we're going to, last weekend we were supposed to be in Parker and it got canceled for the boys. Well, they didn't have no girls bracket, so we got lucky. Lee Wolf let us jump in last minute. So, and I went to Pierre a few weeks ago. I took the girls on Friday. So, yeah, we're trying to promote it. It's I think ours will grow eventually.
We're putting them in the fire if you're taking them to Pierre.
Yeah, we did. It was good. It was good for both of them.
Yep. How about you, Watertown?
Yeah. Watertown's kind of a funny story because for the first 2 years we had 0. And I mean, I just had no luck whatsoever trying to convince. I mean, it's kind of, when you think about it, it's kind of odd. You got a middle-aged guy that's like, hey, come wrestle. So, but I'll tell you, the game changer for Watertown was when we had a girl from Viborg Hurley that moved to Watertown. Hope Orr is her name. She wrestled heavyweight last year, got 3rd last year, and she moved to Watertown, had family and kind of, a situation, and then moved to Watertown. And she met, just a super nice girl, very much a go-getter, very outgoing. And she came to me right away. She wanted to know exactly who the coaches were and stuff like that. And she said, well, what's your girls wrestling situation? I said, well, we have none right now. I know we'll have a 7th grader that'll come out because she did it in AAU. Forever. And so, but she weighs about 96 pounds. So that's not going to work for you. And she said, oh, don't worry about that. I'll fix that. And so, she came to open rooms all the time. And every time she'd bring another girl, and every time she'd bring another girl, and every time she just recruited the crap out of Watertown High School. So then when we get to our sign up meeting, we had 14 girls at the sign up meeting. And then 12 of them actually ended up coming out. We have 10 right now, but I will give Hope Orr all the credit in the world. She and girls, if you're listening to this podcast, you have far, far more influence than any male coach will have in convincing those girls. So don't underestimate the value of your words. That's for sure. So Hope was incredible. She got those girls in the room and now they all love it. And it's so fun.
They had some pretty good success last weekend. I enjoyed it. Working hard.
Exactly. They're just, a lot of them had never even watched a wrestling match. And so they, and they came out and I'll give Hope all the credit in the world for getting the girls in the room. And then I'll give another shout out to our girls coach. So in the beginning of the year, we're pretty, I guess, fortunate or unfortunate. We don't really have a wrestling room. We practice in tennis courts, 2 indoor tennis courts, but we have a lot of space. So we can lay out about 5 mats. So we were doing the boys and the girls kind of mixed together. The girls had their own mat over there or whatever. And I was kind of trying to run both practices at once and just kind of like a chicken with my head cut off. And all the other coaches were trying to help. but it was Dexter Gaikowski stepped up and said, "Hey, let me take this off your hands. I want to do this." And so he started running the practices, and he just took complete control of the girls, and it has been incredible. He does a fantastic job with the girls. So it's really been a learning experience. It's been so much fun to watch those girls just figure things out, very, very quickly. It's different when you're teaching a 5-year-old moves and you got to tell them 100 times. These girls, when you tell them something, they listen and they understand, and it takes them a couple of times and they got it that day. And it's been a lot of fun. That's for sure. So yeah, it's been, we went from 0 to hero pretty fast. So it was, it's been fun this season for sure.
No, I was impressed. No, I saw a lot of talent at the Lee Wolf, and from all the teams that were there. It's crazy. There was a couple other bigger tournaments, that had the girls, so it was nice that Lee Wolf still had them, and everything else. And when you bring peer into a tournament, you better watch out. But there's enough individuals at different places that there's always competition. I got a kick out of one thing in the Lee Wolf. They do the face-off. See, we don't do as many face-offs in North Dakota. My wife was even impressed on how they faced off, and they were doing the high fives with one another, up and down and sideways and doing all the different things. And the wrestlers were cheering for each other, even though they were on different teams, both the girls and the guys. You could tell the girls that probably, played volleyball in the fall or something. They were getting up there high-fiving each other. And so and the crowd was good. I talked to a couple parents that were first-time moms of girls wrestling. And I talked to one, and she goes, "How do you do this all day?" And I said, "I could do it all day and all night and everything else." And she goes, "That's the toughest thing, I think, for us as a family, is figuring out when they're going to wrestle, for one, and who to cheer for." And I said, "Just start picking up the team and anybody your girl is with," because she was just in 8th grade, the mother of an 8th grader. And she goes, "I can't believe on how much my daughter loves this. And sometimes she gets her face smashed in the mat," the lady tells me. And I said, "Yeah. Does she feel bad about it?" "No, she likes to smash the other girl's face in the mat too." The mother didn't know much about wrestling either, but it was pretty fun. You just you listen to what they have to say, and they're so happy because their girls are happy. The girls, like she always said, her daughter liked to be physical and liked to play football and do the other things, but wrestling is now her sport. And I said, you didn't have that before. For some of these girls, have a sport that they can just fall in love and work hard at. So I think it's good.
Yeah, it's funny because you think back to those first couple of weeks and they're kind of not really sure. They've never really had somebody in their face before. And now all of a sudden, fast forward 2 months and they're just clubbing girls and ripping headlocks off and cross faces. And just loving every minute of it. So they really have grown a lot. It's been cool.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Well, we've almost talked 50 minutes, and there's a lot of other stuff we could talk about. But I want to put Chaz through my rapid fire questions. Scott, I've got a couple new ones. I know you've done this before, but I'm going to ask a couple things. Usually I get into questions that aren't too crazy, but one of the things what is the person that gave you, both you guys, kind of your coaching philosophy? Tell me, shoot out a couple names.
Oh man, there are so many. Yeah, certainly my dad, kind of in the beginning for sure. My high school coach was Tim Wishard, who was a Watertown, a couple times state champ, All-American for SCSU. He was amazing as my high school coach. Pat Tim was my college coach. I kind of picking up bits and pieces from all those guys, but yeah, it's been. It would take me too long to name everybody.
Okay. How about you, Scott?
Me, it would definitely be Gary Kapinski, my high school coach, and he had never wrestled and got into it in college and ended up in Parker and did a great job. And he got me going. And then, of course, when I wrestled here on college, Vern Tate.
Okay.
Was another that got me in the coach, really got me the drive. And last one, it was when I left I went to Dakota State to finish up. I was on my track coach, Buzz Stevens. He probably is the one that really got me going to coach.
Okay.
Even though it wasn't wrestling, he got me into, wanting to be a coach.
Okay.
Those are my main 3 in my career.
Well, awesome. How about for you guys when you wrestled? Favorite after weigh-in meal?
Ooh. I had to keep it pretty basic because I always wrestled first. So yeah, it was usually a piece of fruit and then maybe half a bagel or something like that, and always lukewarm or like room temperature water. So, because you drink those cold fluids and then you just get ice cold, freezing, shivering. So, room temperature water.
Okay.
Yeah, the water was very important back. I lived in the area where we cut way too much weight. So water and I can't believe it, but yeah, like a Twinkies. We used to eat crap on the Twinkies. And then you just go wrestle. But then after you're done wrestling, you get that one steak of the week, and then you knew you were back to cutting weight.
Yeah. As a team, we used to actually stop at like Bonanza or something after we were done wrestling.
Yeah.
That I'm going, or we pull into like a Hardee's. There was never like really good food. I was a person that really dehydrated myself when I look back. I was one of those where water still today tastes good to me, and water doesn't have any taste, but still, I don't know why that is. Okay. What is it like to be coached by you if asked by your wrestlers?
Oh God. Well, hopefully they would say, you know, that he's somebody that cares a lot about me as an individual, you know, not necessarily just the success on the mat. I mean, I stay on these guys about pretty much every aspect of their life, their social lives, their grades, you know, so somebody who's looking out for the best interest of me in every area of our life, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, my wrestlers, same thing. They tell you, they like imitating me. They be yelling and stuff, and that I never give them a break, and like they said, even like out of the class, you know, the classroom's a big thing of mine. I just stay on about grades.
That's your job. Yeah, I agree. Okay. As you're growing up, what was your college wrestling team?
Ooh, that'd be the Hawkeyes for sure. Because of course you had Randy Lewis and then Lincoln McElravy, who used to shoot grouse on his on Kenny's place. So
Okay.
yeah, we used to do that every once in a while. So yeah, the Hawkeyes for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, in the 80s, it was the Hawkeyes. As I grew up, I became a Gopher fan, and now the big time Husker.
Okay.
But of course, the last few years, I won't lie, I'm a Badger. I like the Wisconsin Badgers.
Okay, staying in the Big Ten.
Oh yeah.
Well, now that Nebraska's in the Big Ten.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Powerade or Gatorade?
Powerade.
Okay, what color?
My guys are big fans of the purple zero sugar ones.
Okay.
I'm old school Gatorade, the old lime one. Yep.
Lime, you betcha.
Oh yeah.
Popsicles or dilly bars?
Ooh. Dilly bars.
Yeah, my old age dilly bars. When I was a kid, it was a popsicle, but oh yeah, I take a dilly bar any day.
Okay. Give me 3 characteristics that all wrestlers need to have.
Ooh.
I'll go dedication, determination, and mental.
Okay.
Yep, for sure. Tireless worker, mental toughness, and just grit.
I like the grit. Have you seen a UFO?
I have not.
Boy, no, I have not.
I have. I just saw the corner of my eye at a wrestling tournament. Somebody just flying through the air, and somebody got souped over at that freestyle corner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seen a few there. That's about it. Okay. Mama's boy or rebel?
Ooh, probably mama's boy.
Rebel.
Nothing better. Yep. Major League Baseball or NFL?
Ooh. I guess I watch baseball more. I don't watch either one of them, to be honest with you. But
okay.
Yep. I used to be a big NFL guy, but I watch more baseball, Major League Baseball. Of course,
Okay.
I'm an Astros fan, so it's been fun the last 6 years.
I've watched you put about every week. You got at least 1 or 2 Astro posts out there. Definitely. Fast paced or consistently slow?
Fast pace.
Yeah, definitely.
This has already probably been answered. Physical or mental athlete?
Mental.
Yep, I need a mental one. Yep.
Favorite holiday?
Ooh, Easter.
Okay.
Christmas, family. Yep.
Yep, that's usually what it is. Now, this is old school question. Dan Gable or Cale Sanderson?
I'll go Cale.
Dan Gable.
Yep, I'm an Iowa guy, I had to say. But you'd be surprised. About from 1995 people on, graduating wise, it's Cale.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
In fact, a lot of them name their kids that. I never thought about naming any of my kids Dan for any reason, but a lot of people.
Not Gable Dan.
Yeah.
Gable more than Dan. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Favorite number?
1.
All my wrestlers will tell you, number 7, lucky 7.
Lucky 7. There we go. Oh, I was going to say I did name one of my kids Loudon, though. You guys know where that comes from.
Oh, yeah.
Vision Quest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Best wrestler you've ever wrestled?
Oh, man. I took a lot of butt kickings, that's for sure. Probably the one I remember the most where there was absolutely nothing I could do was Bryce Abbey from Kearney in round one of the NCAAs my sophomore year. Yeah, I think he majored me. It was just I couldn't even grab his wrist. I couldn't grab his leg. It was brutal.
Okay.
Mine faced him a lot. John McGee of Harrisburg.
Okay.
Yeah, Harrisburg used to be Class B. I grew up in Parker, and we were in the same conference. Seeing each other a lot.
Any habit that you learned in wrestling that you still do today?
Ooh. Probably just, there's no task that's too big that I can't handle. There's nothing I can't handle. And that's, definitely learned in wrestling for sure.
Yep.
I still spit a lot. Cutting weight.
Yeah.
I chewed a lot of years, but I haven't chewed for 11. No, it's how old? My daughter's 12. I guess I haven't chewed for 12 years, but I still spit a lot.
Okay. I didn't realize I did this until a couple of weeks ago. Somebody else mentioned it, but I still find myself jumping up and down like I'm getting ready for a wrestling match sometimes. Like, just kind of loosen up. And I'm going, what the world? You're not even wrestling today, Gums. What are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Which show could you be on? Storage Wars, Survivor, The Voice, or Jeopardy?
Oh, God. Definitely not The Voice. I don't know if I'm smart enough for Jeopardy. We'll say Survivor. No task that I can't accomplish, right? So we'll go Survivor.
I'm a Storage Wars guy.
Okay. Yep. I think I would love to be on Storage Wars. I think that'd be pretty awesome. Okay. Cat, bird, or dog?
Dog.
Most wrestling coaches are that way. Okay. If you could have been a fly on the wall in some other coach's room, whose wrestling room would you have spied on?
Oh, my. High school, college, or anything?
Either one or both if you want.
I definitely want to see what's going on in Cale's room, Cale Sanderson in Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
Just all the mystery. It can't be everything that everybody's talking about. There's got to be something in there. I'm sure he does things exactly like everybody else does, but everybody thinks he's got this magic stick.
How he finds to get everybody to win in the championship, it's just insane.
Yeah.
Definitely. How about you, Scott?
I would say Bono's room.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I like that one.
Yep, I've always thought about it when he was at State, and definitely now in Wisconsin. I just like to see how he gets something out of certain kids that I don't expect things. That's why I like to figure it out.
Okay. This is usually a tough one. See if you can come up with one. Name one phrase. It's supposed to be phrase. It says phase. But one phrase you use in coaching that you can't use anywhere else.
Oh, God.
Man, there's so many that people would have no idea.
Probably can't say it here. They're not rated PG.
How about head position? That'd be weird if you heard that anywhere else.
Yep. Hand control. Yeah, little things. You're yelling half. You can't do that anywhere else.
Well, my kids laugh every time I say it, but I'm a little more careful now in today's wrestling world. But
hips in.
Your head does not belong there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, awesome, guys. No, it's basically, as we all learn from the sport, I'm one of these big believers in promoting the sport, and I know you guys are too, or else you wouldn't do what you're doing. Last thing I would ask, what is the most favorite thing you do as a coach and I'm not talking in the season, but let's go out of the season. When you look back at the season, what's your most favorite thing you remember about usually any season?
Favorite thing we do outside of the season?
No, favorite things you enjoy or just remember about. What are the things you like reminiscing about when you are, in the off season?
Oh, I mean, you just spend so much time with these kids. So just the stupid things that are said in practice or in a hotel room or something like that. I mean, no, most of the time they're not going to remember wins and losses. It's going to be the dumb stuff you did outside of that. So, we have a lot of fun on the team. I mean, I'm sure you noticed they're a bunch of goofballs.
Mm-hmm.
That is for sure. So yeah, all those things are the things that they hold on to the most, and me too.
Yep.
Yeah, just seeing their reactions through the season and different situations that they're in, and just like you said, just different things that we do during the season that aren't like really wrestling things. Those are the things, yeah, in the off season I'd probably look back, laugh about. I can laugh about it then, more than probably during the season. Or the kids make me probably laugh more during the season. It takes me after the season to look back and say, oh, no wonder they were doing that.
Yep. I always like that too, that aspect, because when I see somebody, let's say 10 years after they're done wrestling, those are the stories that I talk about. It's usually not about their matches or the wins or losses. It's, you remember when you did this and, you came on the bus and you forgot your whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Microwaved your phone.
Yeah. You did all these things.
I just had a kid do that the last week.
Oh my.
We're waiting for him. I go, what the hell? You didn't come with the rest of Montrose kids. You don't want to know. What? I had to go get my phone. And I just, whoop. I'll laugh about it after the season, but I was not happy at the moment. I'm like, you're lucky that I had this bus leaving 15 minutes early. Now we're on time.
You guys, Apple sent him a new phone.
Yeah.
New phone. No questions asked. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I tell you what, I wouldn't have survived my era of wrestling with phones around. I had some very deviants on our team. It'd have been probably all over YouTube. When I grew up, there's a guy named Monty Trusty, and there's people out there watching this.
Oh, yeah.
This kid was into any type of trouble possible on the road, and you just had to steer free of him. I mean, they would take like deodorant, try to light a door on fire, or they would, there's so many things that they used to do. And I'm going, I just don't want to get in trouble. I was, and so the phones would have been very bad for our team even, but those are the things you remember. Those are the fun guys. There was always interesting on a trip. You have the one wild guy who, doesn't care what he says to everybody else. And, it's those things you remember.
We got too many of those.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you guys. We made it the hour. I tell you what, you guys got such great teams, and I hope this rest of the year is a very big success and the rest of you guys' future in the sport of wrestling. And guys, if you guys have a chance, everyone else watching tonight, thank you for coming out and seeing these guys. I promote the sport. That's all what we're here for, and make sure that you go out and thank your wrestlers, thank your coaches, because they put in a lot of hard work. And I definitely tell you what, it makes them better men, and they'll look back at this, or better ladies and mothers of wrestlers and fathers of wrestlers in the future. Definitely. Any last words, Scott?
I'll just quickly, I didn't even get a chance, but my kids might kill me. Our kids are
definitely, we got time.
At 106, we got Landon Flogstead. He's a sophomore. Got hurt the first tournament of the year, and he came back a couple weeks ago, and we could see, he was out of shape and stuff. But he dropped one match that first week, turned around last week, and beat the same kid that he should have beat. And we look for him to finally. He has not been to state tournament. I look for him to punch his ticket in and possibly even be on the podium. 113. I talked about that kid earlier. Left us for a little bit. Tried some basketball. Came back. He's an 8th grader. Parker Andal. He's having a good second half of the season when he came back, and he's on the bubble. He's going to have to win that big match to get to state, but he has a good chance. 120, we got Tristan Traupel. He's a state runner-up at 113. He's had a solid year. Dropped a tough one a couple weeks ago to low tack from Wagner, but I think he has a shot again to get the championship and maybe be a state champ. 126, we got Elliot Bartlett. He's a junior, second-year kid for us. He's battling. He's trying to battle. He's getting near that 500 mark. We'll see what happens with him at regions. 132, Owen Schmidt. He's a freshman. He's been coming on. He's 22 and 15, and he's on the bubble, but he has a real good chance to get in the state meet. Then we're actually we might throw Ray Sandina, an undersized kid, in at 138 for the region. Otherwise, we've been open most of the time, except for duels. And then 145, we're open. 152, we got Jackson Remmers. He was a state champ 2 years ago, and last year he got runner-up at 45 too. Definitely a stud there. He's 34-0, but Jackson's looking real good. He's a good thing with our. Chaz mentioned you chase your schedule around trying to chase people and get better and wrestle tougher competition. And I like that because we've seen the top 52 pounders in the state already. So it's nice to have that under your belt going in a region and state tournament. 160 Carter Randall's been solid for us. I think he's number 4 ranked right now, and he's come a long ways. He got 6th place last year at the same weight. He's in the same weight class he was last year. 170, of course, the other Remmers, Weston, he's really turned it on this year, and he's had a great year. 21-4, and he looks at big things. He came on right at the end of the year last year and got surprised everybody, including me as a coach. Got 3rd at 152. He could find himself in that state title match this year if he puts everything together. 182, a longtime kid, put a lot of years in, a senior. He qualified finally last year. And I look for him to get on the podium for us. And then 195, probably my hardest working kid. He's never been to state, but he's a junior. Will Roeder. He's going to have to win a big match to get in, but he's looks really good. I think he'll hopefully punch his ticket. 220 will hopefully, the way it looks, when we grow Cod back. Now we'll just get wrestling should be big. He should finish really high if everything holds together and goes good for him. And then a heavyweight, we got Austin Hoyton. He's beat the number 1 guy, and we've been beat by a kid that beat us from Canton. That's really come on this year. There's about 3-4 of them. Many of them could win that state title. So that's kind of our team. Duels you mentioned earlier, we're setting in 4th, but there's some teams that can catch us, like Elk Point Jefferson. Like I said, they beat us, so they can jump us as long as they're in that top 10. I think I'm kind of like Chaz. I think we're going to be that 4 through 6. Depends on who's number 1. We're hoping 4 or 5 maybe stay over there, but who knows? But at least as long as we take care of everything, that we don't have a lot of. One thing I don't have is like I've had in the past. I've got a couple good backups. That's it. The number wise, we don't have the depth. So we got a quad tomorrow night, and then that round robin. We just can't have too many kids out sick and drop a duel or 2. Somebody we should late in the years.
Okay,
that's kind of where we're at. Then individual, you mentioned we're setting 3rd, and we've been flopping around between 5th, 3rd, 2nd. And, I couldn't tell you where we're going to end up if we can get the 9 to 11 kids to the state tournament. We can make a push. Then, we'll make a push for it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, take a team trophy home, definitely.
Oh yeah, that's our big goal and stuff. That Chaz, where do you think you're going to end up there on the individual side?
Honestly, I don't have any idea. I don't pay attention to rankings or anything like that. We're just going to try to get our guys ready to go. It's coming. Everything kind of points to February. So that's the thing.
And when you say that, that's kind of what I tell my kids. I really care less where you're ranked at because it's a end of February I used to say Saturday night individual. Now it's Friday night. And I just tell them that Friday night, that's when we'll find out what that's all that counts.
Yeah. Yep. Rankings is just lip service. That's all it is.
Yep. I show my kids every time of, in 2002 when Alan Tusha won that state title for us at heavyweight. I think he had been beat by that kid in their career. We ended up like 7-21, and we won 2 the senior year, and we won the one that counted. So you never know, even if you've been beat. And I tell kids, they're solid. Hey, this kid could beat you in this one match, so you better be ready. Don't let the moment get to you.
Yep, so true, definitely. Chaz, last words?
Yeah, well, just thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's amazing what you guys do with Dakota Grappler. I'll be honest, I don't spend a ton of time on there, but what you guys do by promoting the sport, everybody you talk to talks about it. You guys do an amazing job, so huge thank you, and I appreciate you having me on, and best of luck to the Patriots. It's always fun to beat the Demons, so good luck. And good luck, Coach Andal.
Yeah. You too, Coach.
You betcha. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. Again, go out and check some duels out. They have a lot this weekend, a lot tonight, and then we'll round up the season. Guys, thanks again. Guys, I can't thank you enough. You guys have the rest of the season with the thumbs up. Definitely.
All right. Thanks.
Have a good one.
You bet.